Hi, my name is Sharon, and this is Knit Style. Hi, and welcome to episode 120 of Knit Style. Knit Style is a podcast about knitting, spinning, sewing, and other crafts. So my name is Sharon, and I'm also known as Stitch Mistress pretty much everywhere on the internet. I have a huge show for you today. I have a very exciting announcement at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, let's get started because I have a lot to talk about. So first off, let's talk about Stash Dash. So my goal for Stash Dash, which is a knit-along hosted by the Knit Girls, Aunt Laura and Leslie, and Laura pretty much runs Stash Dash. Anyway, my goal was 7,000 yards, and I did not make that goal for lots of reasons, which I will talk about a little bit later in the show. But I almost made it. My total was 6740 meters. Sorry, it's meters, not yards. So 6,740 meters of yarn knit. And if I had finished just one more pair of socks, I would have done it. And if I had stayed up till like midnight, the last day of Stash Dash, I might have done it. Not doing that. So yeah. So 6,740 meters. I'm pretty proud of that. And I did post in their group, the 5,000 meter group. And yeah, so Stash Dash is over. And I had quite a lot of projects. I think I had 5 pairs of socks in there, which is pretty awesome. So, one reason I didn't finish this pair of socks is that, remember last week I was telling you that I was going to go on a train down to the city? We had a great time down in the city, and I vlogged it, and it will eventually be up on this channel. I just have not had time to edit video. I have 2 more Disney videos to edit, vlogs to edit, and haven't done it yet. So pardon me, you'll be getting some Disney videos at the end of the summer, but they're cool. So, and I also have a New York City vlog coming, so I have a lot of editing to do. I'll get to it. But anyway, last week I showed you a finished sock. This is Mustache Yarns in the Sesame colorway. Love the sock. And I brought the second sock with me on the train. And I was right to here, to this, no. I was to here, this like cream colored stripe, and I knit all the way up here, and I realized that I had to start my heel. And I'm knitting my heel on the second ball of yarn. Guess what I forgot to bring? Because there's 2 separate balls. I forgot to bring the separate ball of yarn on the train. So I was on the train for about 3 hours with no knitting. Not fun. So I read some books on my phone. I played Pokemon Go on the train. Yeah, I was kind of miserable. But that's why I would have finished these, I think, for Stash Dash if I hadn't have forgotten my ball of yarn. Because look how far I got. So I'm almost done. I'm almost ready to start the ribbing on the second sock. So yeah. Womp womp. Oh well. That's just the way it goes sometimes. That's the way it goes a lot of times with me, trying to remember things when I'm trying to go somewhere. My brain is too full of things. So anyway, that's what I get for trying to pare down what I'm bringing, because I didn't want to drag a lot of stuff to the city with me. I only had one tiny little bag, so I said, I'll just bring the sock and 1 ball of yarn, and it'll be just a tiny little thing. I should have brought both socks and the other ball of yarn. And anyway, that's my crazy. So that's that. let's talk about the second thing I've been working on. Now, I knew I had no hope of finishing this next thing for Stash Dash, but it's something I'm just really, now that Stash Dash is over, I'm really enjoying. So that is this project. And this is a project by Martina Bem. It's called the Snowflake Shawl, I think. Isn't it pretty? Love the colors. So I don't know, maybe not even a quarter of the way through. But it's so beautiful. Look how beautiful it's knitting up. That yarn, it's gorgeous. And I'm using beads for each of the little snowflakes. So, it's garter stitch, asymmetrical shawl, very typical of Martina. And I'm really enjoying knitting it. The only thing is, a lot of these kind of shawls that she designs, like the Trillion shawl that I showed you last week that I knit out of the Outlander colorway, that's just mindless. You can memorize that and you just go. This, no, it has a chart and you can't memorize it. So that's kind of a pain in the neck. And I think that's why I haven't really been working on it as much, because I need to, first of all, I need to find the chart. Because, is it, oh no, it is in here. How about that? It's in my bag. So, yeah, this is the shawl right here. Martina's holding it up. And so yeah, first I have to find the chart, which is in this cute little booklet. It came as a kit. I joined her yarn club this year. So it's called Snowflake Party. So yeah, there's a chart. There's a bunch of charts. And yeah, see all the charts? So it's not something you could just pick up and knit without looking at a pattern or whatnot. So that's a bit of a pain, but I like the project now that I'm getting into it more. The other thing that I worked on was my one-way tee sweater, which is this sweater right here. And it almost turned out to be a disaster. This is what Jasmine and Gigi would call a knitting attack. So what happened was I did a gauge swatch, and the filthy little swatch lied. I told you what I was going to do was I was going to do a gauge and plug it into Amy Herzog's custom fit pattern website and have her generate a pattern for me. The gauge for this pattern is 5.5 stitches to the inch. Well, my gauge swatch was 6 inches to the inch, so I plugged that into the website, into Amy's website, no problem, spit out a pattern. Started knitting the pattern. It was huge. I could tell right away when I cast it on it was going to be huge. So I knit another quick little gauge swatch, or I measured what I had knit already, and that was coming out much looser than 6 stitches to the inch. So I just scrapped the whole thing and let it sit for a couple days because I just didn't really know what to do. So I emailed the Custom Fit website and I let them know my dilemma, that my gauge swatch was off. And I got a lovely note back yesterday. It takes 2 days for them to get back to you. I got a lovely note from them yesterday that they put a credit in my account and that I could redo the whole pattern. So I was super, super happy that I could redo the pattern because it just, I paid $9 for it and it just was worthless with this other gauge swatch. So I had, in the meantime, while I was waiting for the pattern to be generated, I knit up another gauge swatch. Look at this thing. It's huge. It's like 12 inches. I wasn't going to mess around this time. And what do you think the gauge I came up with was? Yeah. The gauge was 5.5 stitches to the inch, which was what this pattern called for. So I was correct, 5.5 stitches to the inch, and my row gauge was nowhere near the pattern's row gauge, but that's okay because the Amy Herzog website did the math for me. So I have a lovely custom fit pattern that should be able to work for me. I could plug in my numbers for this other pattern, and I should have a sweater that fits for Rhinebeck. I hope. Stay tuned. So, let me make my announcement right now. I have been thinking for a long time that I wanted to start some sort of business having to do with fiber arts. And I've thought about it, looked into it, researched it, and I think what is the best fit for me, aside from teaching, which I already do, I thought I'd try my hand at yarn dyeing. So my announcement is that I have opened an Etsy shop, and I have now become an indie dyer. So I am very excited about this. I have been having a ball dyeing yarn, and that's why I haven't gotten a lot of knitting done, because it does take time. It's work. Work that I really like, though. I really enjoy doing it. And I've gotten my son to help me, and my husband with some of the heavy lifting kind of stuff, like getting everything out and putting everything away and whatnot. And yeah, so that's my big announcement. I have an Etsy shop. The details, the link will be down below in the description box down below YouTube, and you'll be able to check out the yarn I've dyed, and I hope that you guys like some of it. So right now I'm going to talk about a little bit about my thought processes, and I'm going to show you some video clips of how I started dyeing. And if you're not interested in any of this, please feel free to turn it off. It's fine. I am going to be showing off my skeins, and they're all going to be for sale, and it's a big long commercial for my store. So if you're not into that, I will not be upset about it at all. Have a great week, and I will see you next week, where I'm hoping I'll have a lot more knitting done. So this is the only show that I'm going to talk about a lot of my processes and everything, although I might talk about dyeing if you're interested. I don't know. And I'm still going to talk very much about knitting, spinning, and sewing mostly, but at the end of the show I'll be showing off some skeins that I'll put in an update. And I'd like to try an update weekly with a few skeins. I work full time, so I only really have weekends to dye because at night I'm too tired. So I'll have, 8 to 10 skeins a week to show you if you guys are interested, and I don't want to have too much inventory. So if things sell on my Etsy shop, I'll put more skeins in. So we'll see. So let's talk a little bit about kind of how I learned how to dye. I basically learned through videos online. So I took the professional yarn dyeing class at home on Craftsy, taught by Sarah Eyre, and it's a great class. I really enjoyed it, and I invested in professional acid dyes and all the tools that I would need. So I just basically dove right in, so to speak. So the first thing that I dyed was, do you remember that shawl where I ruined the shawl, where I soaked it in some remover to get some of the dye out of the white bits, and I ruined the shawl? So I ripped that back, and I had a skein of yarn that was just gross. It was very muddy looking and whatnot. So I decided to dye that first. So I measured out the dye, put it in the pot. Now the skein was dark to begin with, so the dye is going to come out a little darker. And I also, I mixed the dye and I poured it on. And I also mixed another color and poured that on. So this is what I came up with. It's just a slightly variegated skein of blues. And it's fine. Color's great, so I'll knit something with this at some point. And it just gave me something to get my feet wet with it. So, the next thing I wanted to try was speckle dyeing. And so I did that. And how do you come up with colors for dyeing is something that I've been thinking about. So, I really do like bright colors, as you will see, and I like saturated colors. So I had an idea that I thought I might try to dye skeins of yarn inspired by Pokemon Go. I'm obsessed with Pokemon Go. Pokemon are bright, cheerful colors. I thought it would be fun just to have something to inspire me as a starting point. So that's what I did. I dyed some skeins of yarn that were inspired by Pokemon Go. So my daughter said, why don't you dye the starter Pokemon? So the 3 starter Pokemon are Squirtle, Charmander, and Bulbasaur. Squirtle is a teal color. Charmander is fall colors like tans and oranges and reds. And Bulbasaur is greens. So they're all very different colors. So I said, all right, I'll start there. So I did some speckle dyeing of those 3 colors or colorways, and they didn't come out too bad. I'm really actually very proud of them. And it's very funny because I was at knit group 2 weeks ago. You know, I teach a knitting class, and I just casually mentioned to them, I said, guess what I did today? I did something a little different. And they said, what'd you do? And I said, I dyed some yarn. And I whipped out my phone and I showed it to them just as a, oh, look what I did. They're like, is it for sale? Can we buy it? And I said, yeah, never expecting them to be interested at all. So the following week, I brought the skeins in, and I've already sold 2 to friends of mine. No, I sold 3, I'm sorry. I sold 3 of the Squirtle colorway already, so I had to dye more for my shop update. Okay, so this was the Squirtle colorway, and I dyed up some more yesterday. And I have 2 yarn bases. One base, they're all fingering weight yarn. So these are really great for socks. I mean, great for shawls too. I mean, the colors are I like bright colors, some people don't. I love bright colors, so, you know, I would wear any of these as a shawl. But they would all be appropriate for socks, definitely. So I have 2 bases. They're both fingering weight. One is a 4-ply, and that is 463 yards. And it's lovely. I like that base a lot. I actually knit a shawl out of that base last year, and it's very squishy, and I love, love, love the shawl. So it would make fabulous shawls or socks, and it would wear very well because it has nylon and it is superwash. So this is the 4-ply in the Squirtle colorway. And he has a red shell and like a yellowish belly. And I think it came out pretty good. Here it is, and I also have a 2-ply base. And this is also great for socks and shawls. I've knit with this base as well and love it. And it's very sturdy. It's a little bit heftier than the 4-ply base as a 2-ply, and you can really see like the plies pop out, and it's a lovely base. So this is the Squirtle colorway. And yeah, I think they came out awesome. And these colors are pretty true. In fact, they're very true. Okay, so that's my Squirtle. And the next one I did was Bulbasaur. And he is greens, like different shades of green. And this is Bulbasaur. It's kind of bright, but fun. Variegated greens. And this is in the, both of these are in the 4-ply base. Okay, so the next one, I was a little afraid to dye because the colors are a little out of my comfort zone. I like the colors, but I'm all, you know, you're always, well, with me, I'm always drawn to more blues and greens. So this next one is Charmander, and he is more fall colors, and this is him. And he's got yellows and oranges and reds and speckles of like a brown, tan, very lightly speckled. And I love these. I thought these were really pretty. So any one of these make great socks, shawls. So that was my initial thoughts for my first foray into thinking of colors and whatnot. So then once you start dyeing, like other things pop into your head. So oh, with this one, there was still some dye left in the bath, so I threw in another skein. And then I threw in some colors on top of it. So I came up with this one. So this would be a one-of-a-kind, really. And this is, I'm calling this one Hydrangea because it's got a little blue in it. You know how the hydrangeas have the blue, the purples and the blues. So that's a fun one. And I love pink. Pink is one of my favorite colors. So I wanted to dye a pink. And this one came out really bright. But I love it. It's beautiful. This is called Girl Power. Because, yeah, it's pink. And it's got lots of different shades of pink and fuchsia and purple speckles. And who wouldn't want a pair of socks in this in January, right? I mean, bright color on a gloomy day. So then I was thinking, well, Halloween is coming up, and so I decided to do some Halloween colorways. So the other thing that I love, one thing that I do love, as you know, is Disney. So I came up with some Disney references when I was dyeing these up. So of course, for Halloween, another one of my favorite colors is purple. So I did these two. And I'm calling this one Not So Scary. So that's a reference to Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party that they have at the Magic Kingdom every year that I want to get to someday when I'm retired. But this has black and deep purple and pinky purples, and I love this one. So this is Not So Scary. So I really wanted to come up with a Haunted Mansion colorway, and I kind of looked at the Haunted Mansion wallpaper and colors and pictures and images. So I dyed this skein. This is on the 2-ply base. And it's like a bluer purple than Not So Scary, with pink speckles and black speckles. And I really love this one because I love those lavender shades. And then in the same pot is another skein that came out looking different because it's deeper and more saturated. That's this one. So funny how they can come out so different. So this one I named a different color, a different name, because it is very different than the other one. So I'm naming this one Phantom Manor. And that is actually the name of the haunted mansion in Paris. So this is Phantom Manor. And it's got deeper purples, blacks, and a little bit of pink speckle. And this is, I think, another gorgeous skein. Okay, so that's pretty much it with the purples. I love purple, but I was kind of tired of it. So I wanted to dye something a little grittier, and just to kind of play with the blacks and grays. And this one has purple in it too, but it's definitely more muted. So of everything that I dyed, I think this one is my favorite. And if no one buys it, I'm going to keep one because I love it. So these are, I'm naming Halloween Horror Night, which is a reference to the Universal Halloween party that goes on. And I just love how these came out. They're grays and browns with black speckle, little purple speckle, a little orange. I love these. Love. And I'm going to knit a shawl. If no one buys this by October 1st, it's mine. And I'm knitting one into a shawl. But I hope you guys like it. And if you buy it, and you like it, I'll dye more. I'm in love. I'm obsessed with this one. Obsessed. So this is not all in one go. Like, I dyed this over some, different days. So, yeah, you get more experience and you kind of get to know what colors you kind of want to work with and whatnot. So another fall color I wanted to do, I kind of wanted to do an apple picking color. So I dyed this one. I'm calling these Pink Pearl for the apple that you bite into, and there's pink inside. And these are both on my 2-ply base. And they just have the reds, and then the green speckle, and the pink. Getting to the end now, so bear with me. Alright, so when I was dyeing up Squirtle, I also used some different colors just as an experiment, and I came up with these two. I don't really like them as a match for the Squirtle colors, so I haven't really decided what to name them yet. I think they're beautiful. I was thinking of calling them Deep Sea Rainbow because they have a lot of different colors. And lest you think I can only dye bright saturated colors, I experimented with some pastels. So this one I thought reminded me of Carousel Horses. So that's what I'm calling this one. Carousel Horses. And it's a very, very pale pink with teal and purple speckles. I thought these would make a beautiful baby sweater. You like to knit for babies? I don't. I think it'd make a great shawl too. Great socks. And I have one more color to show you. This is my other pastel color. And it's a little different, it's a little out there, but the more I look at it, the more I kind of love it. And I'm calling this one Fallen Fairy. So this is a peach with some lichen speckles, lichen color, like kind of like green, like a dirty green, and some teal speckles, and it's different, but I hope someone will love it. I love it. This would make a lovely shawl on me or on you. But Fallen Fairy. So that's what I've been doing. So you dyers out there know how much work goes into all of that, but I'm really enjoying it and I want to keep doing it. So yeah, so anyway, the update is going to be on Tuesday, August 30th, 2016 at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. Hopefully I'll get this edited tonight. These skeins will be available in my shop. My shop's open right now, but there's nothing in there yet. So I'm just going to update them all at once, see what happens. So yeah, thank you for sticking with me through all of that. Oh, and one more thing. As a reward for sticking with me, I have a skein to give away. This is one of my first Squirtle skeins, and I think it's beautiful. It has a lot of variegation, colors are gorgeous, and I'm going to give this skein away to a lucky viewer. So to win the skein, what I'd like you to do is go to my Ravelry group at Knit Style on Ravelry, and I'm going to open up a thread for the skein, and I'm going to have some prompts in there, some questions to answer about yarn and about, you know, what kinds of weights of yarn you'd like to see in the shop, what kinds of colors you'd like to see. You know, what do you guys like? Do you like sparkle? What kind of bases? I don't have an MCN yet, but you know, I may in the future. I don't have a sparkle yet. I may in the future. You know, I'm gonna just see what you guys think and let me know. And that's all you need to do is just answer the prompts in the question, and you will be entered to win this hand-dyed skein by me. A word about, you know, quality control. I really made sure I used enough citric acid. I wash all the skeins after I'm done, and there's no dye coming out of them. The one that really did a lot of bleeding was this red one, but I rinsed it until it ran clear. So you guys should be good to go. So I hope you enjoyed this segment. Lots of yarn. And if you like yarn, this is your show. But that's pretty much it. So yeah, so I'd love to hear some feedback. You know, give me some feedback with comments down below. Give me some feedback in the episode thread about what you think about, you know, the colors and whatnot, and of the business and everything. And yeah, that's about it. So I hope you guys have a great week, and hope to see you at the shop opening. And this is pretty much all I have, so come early, and you know, hopefully there'll be a skein for you if you want one. And yeah, hope to see you opening on Etsy, and I'll put the link down below. And I will also see you again next weekend when I record. So have a great week. Happy knitting. Cheers.